Hi, I'm Patrick Gotimer, and we're here for this week's edition of The Extra Point with Curt Dudley. Thanks for being here, Curt.
My pleasure to be here.
Curt's the Director of Multimedia Communications for JMU. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about what you do here?
Well, it's quite comprehensive, basically, but when it comes down to it, I serve as one of those that communicates through the multimedia services, and that's everything from electronic media to video streaming, for example, with the various constituents that are JMU, whether it be student athletes, whether it be our alumni or former student athletes, members of the Duke Club, really all constituents at JMU somehow regards, and just get the word out about James Madison as their athletic program goes. And one of the primary things is actually overseeing the operation of Madison, which is the internet broadband channel for JMU athletics, and we do about 65 live events a year and a number of other packaged events throughout the course of the year, and that continues to grow.
Very nice. So with Madison, I know a lot of students, and you have a lot of practicum students for that. So how might a student separate themselves from other students while competing for an internship or job at a university?
Well, first of all, I think one thing is that a lot of people that get involved with sports, they do so from a fan basis. And when you come to JMU and you start either doing the sports communication operation or get involved from an academic standpoint, what you're trying to do, first of all, is separate yourself from being what I commonly say, or say with facetiousness, I guess, is get away from being a barroom sports talker to being a real knowledgeable sports talker, and take a look beyond just what you hear in general chatter. So it's going below the surface of the water to find out all the other details involved with the sports program, and trying to tell the stories of the student athletes that are from JMU. Now, that doesn't quite answer your question, but getting to your question, one, you got to have that acumen, knowing what to say. Get your skills honed so that you can do the interviews, know what the good questions are, and also to really be an effective communicator. And I think that really one of the most important communication tools is really learning how to write. Because to me, the written word is the most precise way to communicate to an individual, because you have a chance to really think about it and put that thought down on paper. So even before you go in and do an interview like this, you spend some time thinking about those thoughts and go right into it. I know when I do productions, those seem to come out a lot better than those that are kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And you can certainly, over the course of time, learn how to develop those skills, but from a student's perspective, really that learning to precisely hone those communication skills becomes very important.
Very nice. So in addition to the written pieces and maybe the broadcasting pieces, what other responsibilities might an internship student have?
Well, when it goes behind the scenes, obviously when you do a production, everybody sees what's on the video, or they hear what's on the radio. But in order to get all of that detail together, you spend a lot of time researching. Now you have various resources, always the internet, of course, but you also have resources, and this is what you learn as a practicum student. Where are those resources? Where do I get that information? And you also find that it varies from school to school, because as you go through and deal with sports, it's easy for you and I to sit down and talk and say, hey, let's talk about, what's your favorite football team?
The USC Trojans.
Okay, all right, so well, now, let's say NFL team. Let's talk about it.
Go with the Patriots.
Okay, the Patriots. You and I can sit here and talk about, Tom Brady. We can talk about their NFL game, their Super Bowl championships, playing in Foxborough, all that stuff. But a lot of people can sit down and do that. There's so much information there about them. But as you go down to USC, now you can tell me probably who the quarterback is at USC, but I can't, because that information isn't quite as out front with me. So as you go down each level, even if it's the FBS to the FCS, you have to spend more time researching and gathering that information so that you can tell the folks out there the right stuff. Now, do we say it right all the time? No, but we try to be. And so students will get involved in trying to learn that information, gather those details, and lay it out before me, and actually meet with me and say, okay, here are the high points that I've found out. So it helps me to deliver that information. And that happens at all levels of production and broadcasting.
All right. Well, you kind of mentioned that, it's easier to get NFL information than maybe NCAA information. So you predicted the introduction of Madison to JMU. So can you kind of predict what might come next?
Well, first of all, when students would come into my office in 2000, and I talked about, well, schools will have their own internet video streaming capabilities and their own networks. It wasn't quite, didn't predict that I would be the one that would be running it here. So I think because the internet is limitless for the most part, that obviously we're only covering just a handful of the overall events throughout the course of the year. And I think schools and I mean everybody wants to see everything from you know, the mother of a women's tennis player to, you know, the mom of the football quarterback. They all want to see their kids play. And so ideally you want to be able to produce as many as you possibly can. The only way we can do that here, because our budget is not limited, or is unlimited, it is limited I should say. Boy, I wish it were. But it is limited, so then you get a situation where you get an opportunity for students to come in and learn how to do this, which hones their skills so that when they go out into the real world, they can put on their resume, I've had the opportunity to have this experience in a practical setting. And that hopefully will help to separate JMU student, you know, JMU alums from those others that they're competing from with other schools.
Okay. All right. So our final question here is: during your broadcast, what aspect of the broadcast do you most focus on?
Well, it depends on. Since I do a variety of types of broadcast, one is, I guess, the thing with my style basically is that I let the game come to me. I'm really not worried about. I don't broadcast because Curt Dudley's broadcasting. I'm broadcasting because fans are listening, our fans and their fans. So I want to give, even though, yeah, I do have a personal bias against JMU, I want the fan that listens from you know, a school across the country that mom or dad isn't there, I want them to not get turned off because I'm such a homer, you know. But I also want to be a fan enough of JMU so that the JMU fans understand that as well. And I think I do a pretty good job of giving that balance, because I want as many listeners as I possibly can get, because I've got sponsors that are on there, and if, you know, Residence Inn is one of our sponsors and that parent from a men's soccer team is going to come to Madison, you know, I want them to have a good experience, listen to know, so they're going to pick up the phone and call Residence Inn. So see, it helps everybody, you know, from that perspective. So I think really that the concentration is let the game come to me and to educate the viewers or the listeners with the information that I have available to them. And hopefully I'm weaving a very good story, opening the book about the game, following the analysis of the game, and then closing that book too. So they feel like they basically opened up a, you know, a chapter in a game, and this is the story as it came out. It's from my opinion, quite obviously, but hopefully it's broad enough that they can collect their own opinion as well.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here with us, Curt, and we'll see you next time on The Extra Point.